The wrench slipped from my greasy fingers and clattered against the concrete floor of my garage. Jenna stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the afternoon sun, wearing that designer blazer she'd bought for her promotion. Her announcement hung in the air like exhaust fumes. A pause? I wiped my hands on my coveralls, staring at my wife of 15 years. What exactly does that mean, Jen? She stepped inside, careful not to touch anything that might stain her perfect outfit. It means we take a break from our marriage while I'm in Tokyo. 6 months, maybe longer. We both get to explore other options. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Other options? Like what, a different brand of cereal? Don't be childish, Danny. Her voice carried that condescending tone I'd grown to despise. We're not happy. You know it, I know it. This Tokyo assignment is my chance to figure out what I really want. And I'm supposed to just sit here like a good little husband while you figure it out? You can figure things out too. She examined her manicured nails. Date other people. Do whatever you want. No rules. The garage suddenly felt smaller, the familiar smell of motor oil and metal shavings suffocating. I'd built this business from nothing, working 18-hour days to give Jenna the life she wanted. Now she wanted to pause it all like some streaming service. When do you leave? I asked. Next week. Next week. She'd probably been planning this for months, while I'd been obliviously changing oil and rotating tires, thinking we were just going through a rough patch. What about Sam? Our 16-year-old daughter was already struggling with typical teenage drama. She'll stay with you, obviously. I can't take her to Tokyo. Obviously, because parenting, like our marriage, was apparently something Jenna could just pause when convenient. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. After she left, I stood in my garage surrounded by half-finished repairs and tried to process what had just happened. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Rick. Beer tonight? You look like you need it. I hadn't even told him about Jenna's announcement, but Rick had an uncanny ability to sense when someone needed alcohol and terrible advice. The rusty anchor hadn't changed in 20 years. The same cracked vinyl stools, the same neon beer signs flickering like fading stars, the same scent of stale cigarettes and lost hopes. Rick polished glasses behind the bar, his ex-cop instincts quickly sensing my mood. Let me guess, he said, sliding a beer across the scarred wooden surface. Jenna's got another brilliant idea about improving your marriage. She wants to pause it. I took a long drink. 6 months in Tokyo, no rules, see other people. Rick's eyebrows shot up. Pause it? What is this, a video game? That's what I said. And you agreed to this? What choice do I have? If I say no, I'm the controlling husband holding back her career. If I say yes, I'm the pushover who lets his wife walk all over him. Rick leaned against the bar, studying me with those sharp eyes that had made him a good cop before he'd gotten tired of the politics and bought this place. You know she's already got someone lined up, right? The beer turned bitter in my mouth. What makes you say that? Nobody suggests an open marriage unless they've already got their eye on someone specific. It's like asking permission after you've already done something wrong. Deep down, I knew he was right. The late-night phone calls Jenna claimed were work-related, the new perfume, the way she'd started going to the gym religiously after years of making excuses, the mysterious text messages she'd quickly hide when I walked into the room. So what do I do? Rick grinned, and I recognized the expression from his police days when he was about to suggest something technically legal but morally questionable. You play along, but you play to win. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling while Jenna slept peacefully beside me, probably dreaming about Tokyo and whatever poor sucker she'd already picked out. She'd always been good at compartmentalizing, treating emotions like business decisions. It was what made her successful at work and what was slowly destroying our marriage. I thought about Rick's advice. Play to win. But what did winning even look like when your wife wanted to pause your life together? The next morning, Jenna was already gone when I woke up, off to another early meeting or conference call or whatever executive-level nonsense filled her days. I made coffee and sat at our kitchen table looking around at the house we'd bought together when Sam was little. Every room held memories of better times, back when Jenna still laughed at my jokes and didn't flinch when I touched her with grease-stained fingers. Sam stumbled downstairs in her school clothes, hair a mess, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Typical teenager, but lately she'd been even more withdrawn than usual. "Morning, kiddo." I pushed a cup of orange juice toward her. "Is Mom really going to Tokyo?" she asked without looking up from her phone. "Yeah, for work." "For 6 months?" I nodded, not trusting my voice to stay steady. Sam finally looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes that made my chest tighten. Not surprise, not confusion, just resignation, like she'd been expecting this. "You know Mom's not going alone, right?" she said quietly. The orange juice glass slipped from my hand and shattered against the kitchen floor. Cleaning up broken glass at 7 in the morning while your daughter casually destroys your marriage with a single sentence is not how anyone should start their day. Sam helped me sweep up the pieces, both of us avoiding eye contact like we were handling something more dangerous than sharp edges. "What do you mean she's not going alone?" I asked once we'd disposed of the evidence. Sam shrugged, suddenly fascinated by her backpack zipper. "I saw her texting someone named Tyler, lots of heart emojis and stuff. Gross." Tyler. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. I knew Tyler Morrison from Jenna's company parties, mid-30s, perfectly styled hair, the kind of guy who wore expensive watches and talked about disrupting industries. He'd always been too friendly with Jenna, standing too close during conversations, laughing too hard at her jokes. "How long have you known?" I asked. "A few weeks. I wasn't sure if I should say anything." Sam finally looked at me, and I saw guilt mixed with anger in her expression. "I hate seeing her treat you like this, Dad." After Sam left for school, I sat in my kitchen surrounded by the remnants of my normal life and tried to figure out what to do with this information. The rational part of my brain said to confront Jenna directly, have an adult conversation about our marriage. The other part, the part that had been growing stronger since yesterday's announcement, wanted to dig deeper first. I'd never been the suspicious husband type. I'd trusted Jenna completely, maybe stupidly. But if I was going to play this game, I needed to know the rules. Jenna had left her laptop on the kitchen counter, something she never would have done if she thought I'd go through it. The screen was locked, but I knew her passwords. She used the same combination of Sam's birthday and our anniversary for everything. Old habits from when we actually liked each other. Her email revealed nothing obvious, but her text messages were a different story. The conversation with Tyler went back months, starting professional and gradually becoming more personal, more intimate, more explicit. "Can't wait to show you Tokyo properly," Tyler had written last week. "Just us?" Jenna had replied. "Just us. No interruptions, no complications." "What about Danny?" "What about him? You said yourself he doesn't appreciate what he has." I stared at that last message until the words burned themselves into my retinas. She'd been discussing me with her boyfriend, painting me as the neglectful husband who didn't deserve her. The narrative was already written, and I was the villain. My phone rang, jolting me back to reality. Rick's name flashed on the screen. "How'd you sleep?" he asked. "Like garbage. You were right about her having someone picked out." "Already? Damn, she works fast. Who's the lucky guy?" "Tyler Morrison. Works at her company." Rick was quiet for a moment. "The pretty boy with the Tesla? I've seen him around town. Thinks he's hot stuff." "That's him." "Well, at least you know what you're dealing with. Knowledge is power, my friend." I spent the rest of the morning going through Jenna's digital life like a forensic accountant. Hotel reservations for 2 in Tokyo. Airline tickets purchased weeks ago, restaurant reservations at romantic places I'd never heard of. She'd been planning this pause for months, carefully orchestrating every detail while I'd been completely oblivious. The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was how calculated it all was. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a mistake she'd regretted. This was a deliberate campaign to restructure her life with me as collateral damage. When Jenna came home that evening, she found me in the living room reading a book, acting like nothing had changed. She seemed almost disappointed that I wasn't falling apart. "How was your day?" she asked, settling into her chair with a glass of wine. "Fine. Fixed Mrs. Patterson's transmission. She paid in cash and homemade cookies." Jenna wrinkled her nose. "Cookies from that woman? She has like 6 cats." "They were good cookies." We sat in silence for a while, the weight of unspoken truths filling the room like smoke. Jenna kept checking her phone, probably texting Tyler about how awkward things were at home. "I've been thinking about what you said yesterday," I told her. She looked up, suddenly alert. "And? Maybe you're right. Maybe we both need some space to figure things out." Relief flooded her face so obviously that it almost made me laugh. "Really? You're okay with this?" "I'm not okay with it, but I understand it." She reached over and squeezed my hand, the first genuine physical contact we'd had in weeks. "This doesn't mean I don't love you, Danny. I just need to know if there's something else out there for me." "I know." I squeezed back, marveling at how easy it was to lie when you had practice. "When do you leave?" "Friday morning. Tyler's flying out the same day, but on a different flight. We thought it would be better to keep things professional." "Professional. Right." "Will you miss me?" I asked, curious to see how far she'd push the charade. "Of course I will." Her voice was steady, practiced. "This is going to be hard for both of us." That night, after Jenna fell asleep, I went back to my garage and sat among my tools and half-finished projects. The familiar surroundings usually calmed me, but tonight everything felt different. I wasn't the same person who'd been working here yesterday, obliviously changing oil while my wife planned her escape. I thought about Rick's advice again. Play to win. But what did winning look like when your opponent had already rewritten the rules? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Saw Jenna and some guy at Romano's last night. Thought you should know. Linda Patterson." Mrs. Patterson's daughter Linda worked as a server at Romano's, the nicest Italian place in town, the same restaurant where Jenna claimed she'd been having business dinners. I typed back, "Thanks. Can you tell me anything else?" They looked pretty cozy. "Sorry, Danny." So much for keeping things professional. They couldn't even wait until Tokyo to start their new life together. I sat in my garage until almost dawn, surrounded by the tools of my trade, planning my next move. Jenna wanted to pause our marriage? Fine. But she was about to learn that some games have consequences she hadn't considered. Friday morning arrived gray and drizzling, perfect weather for watching your wife leave for a 6-month affair disguised as a business trip. Jenna packed her suitcase with the efficiency of someone who'd been mentally checked out for months, folding clothes around the careful architecture of her lies. "I'll call when I land," she said, not meeting my eyes. "Sure." I sipped my coffee and watched her struggle with the zipper on her overstuffed bag. "Need help?" "I've got it." Of course she did. Jenna had always prided herself on not needing help, especially from me. It was one of the things that had attracted me to her initially, her independence, her confidence. Now it just felt like another wall between us. Sam came downstairs as Jenna was loading her suitcase into her car. The goodbye between mother and daughter was awkward, full of promises to video chat and stay in touch that we all knew would fade within weeks. "Take care of your father," Jenna told Sam, like I was an elderly relative who might wander off if left unattended. "He can take care of himself," Sam replied coolly. After Jenna drove away, Sam and I stood in our driveway, watching the taillights disappear around the corner. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken understanding. "So what now?" Sam asked. "Now we figure out how to live without her." "Think she'll come back?" I considered lying, giving her some comforting platitude about how people sometimes need space, but everything works out in the end. Instead, I decided she deserved honesty. Not the way she was before. Sam nodded like she'd expected that answer. Good. I was getting tired of pretending everything was normal. That afternoon, I went to see Rick at the bar. It was too early for the usual crowd, just a few regulars nursing beers and watching sports highlights on the ancient television above the bar. "She's gone?" Rick asked, setting down a beer without being asked. "As of this morning. Probably somewhere over the Pacific right now, planning her new life with Tyler." "So what's your move?" I'd been thinking about that all day. The old Danny would have wallowed in self-pity, maybe started drinking too much, definitely let the garage business slide while he felt sorry for himself. But the old Danny had been played for a fool by his wife and her boyfriend. The new Danny had different ideas. "I'm going to give her exactly what she asked for," I said. "Meaning? She wants to pause our marriage? Fine. But pausing goes both ways." Rick grinned. "Now you're talking. What do you need?" "Information, connections, and maybe some advice on how to protect my assets." "Assets?" "The house, the business, Sam's college fund. If Jenna wants to play games, I need to make sure I don't lose everything when the music stops." Rick's expression grew serious. "You thinking divorce?" "I'm thinking about covering my bases. Jenna's smart, but she's also arrogant. She thinks I'll just sit here waiting for her to decide whether she wants to come back. She's about to learn otherwise." The next few days passed in a strange kind of limbo. Jenna called twice, brief conversations full of forced cheerfulness about her flight and her hotel and how different Tokyo was from what she'd expected. She didn't mention Tyler, and I didn't ask. I threw myself into work, taking on extra jobs and staying at the garage until late. Physical labor helped clear my head, and the steady stream of customers provided welcome distraction. Mrs. Patterson brought her car in for an oil change and slipped me an envelope along with her payment. "Linda took these the other night," she whispered conspiratorially. Inside were photos from Romano's restaurant, clearly taken with a phone from across the dining room. Jenna and Tyler at a corner table, leaning close together, his hand covering hers. In one photo, they were kissing. "She's been taking pictures every time they came in," Mrs. Patterson explained. "Started a few weeks ago when Linda recognized Jenna and realized you probably didn't know. I studied the photos, noting the dates written on the back in Linda's careful handwriting. 3 different nights over the past month, always the same table, always the same intimate body language." "Thank you," I told Mrs. Patterson. "This helps more than you know." "That girl never deserved you, Danny. Too good for her own good, if you ask me." That evening, I called my sister Carol in Boston. Carol was a lawyer specializing in family court, and while we weren't particularly close, she'd always been protective of me in that fierce way older sisters manage. "Danny, this is a surprise. Everything okay?" "Not really. I need some advice about protecting myself financially." "From what?" I gave her the condensed version. Jenna's Tokyo trip, the pause request, my suspicions about Tyler. Carol listened without interrupting, her legal mind probably already analyzing angles and implications. "First question," she said when I finished. "Do you want to save the marriage?" "I don't think there's a marriage left to save." "Then we need to talk strategy. Can you come up here this weekend? This isn't a conversation for the phone." Saturday morning, I drove to Boston, while Sam spent the weekend with her friend Ashley. The city felt alien after years of small-town life, all noise and motion and people in a hurry to get somewhere important. Carol's office was in a gleaming downtown tower, all glass and steel and expensive furniture. She looked successful and intimidating in her power suit, every inch the high-powered attorney she'd worked so hard to become. "Show me what you've got," she said after we'd exchanged awkward small talk. I spread the photos and printed text messages across her conference table. Carol studied them with professional detachment, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. "This is good," she said finally. "Establishes a pattern of deception and infidelity. How are your finances structured?" "Joint checking and savings. The house is in both our names. The garage is mine, but some of the equipment was purchased with joint funds. Credit cards? Joint accounts mostly. She has a company card for business expenses." Carol nodded. "Here's what you're going to do. Open your own checking account immediately. Start depositing your business income there instead of the joint account. Document every expense related to Sam's care, food, clothes, school supplies, everything. If this goes to court, you want to show that you're the primary caretaker." "What about the house?" "Don't move out, whatever you do. And don't let her claim abandonment when she gets back. Keep paying the mortgage, keep maintaining the property, make it clear that this is your home." We spent 3 hours going over details, contingencies, worst-case scenarios. By the time I left Boston, I had a thick folder of documents to sign and a clear understanding of what I was up against. "One more thing," Carol said as I was leaving. "Don't do anything stupid. No confrontations, no dramatic gestures, no posting angry rants on social media. Everything you do from now on might end up in front of a judge." The drive home gave me time to process everything Carol had told me. Jenna thought she was being clever, manipulating the situation to her advantage while keeping me in the dark. But she'd made a crucial mistake. She'd underestimated me. The old Danny might have been content to fix cars and trust his wife to handle the complicated stuff. But the old Danny was gone, replaced by someone harder and smarter and infinitely more dangerous. When I got home, there was a voicemail from Jenna. Her voice was bright and artificial, like she was reading from a script. "Hi, honey. Just wanted to check in. Tokyo is amazing, so different from home. The work is challenging but exciting. I miss you and Sam. Give her my love. Talk soon." No mention of Tyler. No acknowledgement that she was probably calling from their shared hotel room. Just more lies wrapped in false sentiment. I deleted the message and went to my garage to work on Mrs. Henderson's brake job. But for the first time since this whole mess started, I found myself smiling. Jenna wanted to pause our marriage? Perfect. But she was about to discover that some games have rules she'd never considered. 3 weeks into Jenna's Tokyo adventure, I'd settled into a routine that would have been unrecognizable to my old life. Up at 6, coffee and breakfast with Sam, full day at the garage, evening phone calls with lawyers and accountants, then planning my next moves until late into the night. The joint bank account told an interesting story. Jenna was spending money like she was on vacation instead of a business trip. Expensive restaurants, shopping, entertainment. Meanwhile, I'd been quietly funneling my garage income into my new personal account, building a war chest for whatever came next. "Dad, you're acting weird," Sam announced over dinner Thursday night. "Weird how?" "I don't know, different, like you're planning something." "Smart kid. Too smart for her own good sometimes. Maybe I am planning something. Good weird or bad weird?" I considered the question. "That depends on your perspective." Sam nodded sagely, like this made perfect sense. "Are you going to make Mom pay for what she did?" The directness of the question caught me off guard. I'd been careful not to poison Sam against her mother, despite everything, but apparently I didn't need to. Sam had figured out the situation on her own. "I'm going to make sure we're protected," I said carefully. "Good. She thinks you're stupid, you know." "What makes you say that?" "The way she talks to you. Like you don't understand important things. Like you're just the guy who fixes cars while she handles real life." Out of the mouths of babes, Sam had articulated something I'd felt for years but never quite put into words. Jenna's condescension had been so gradual, so subtle, that I'd barely noticed it happening. "Well," I said, "maybe it's time to show her she's wrong about that." Friday evening, I was closing up the garage when Tyler's Tesla pulled into my parking lot. He sat behind the wheel for a moment, probably working up courage, then got out and walked toward me with the swagger of someone who thought he held all the cards. "Danny, right? We met at Jenna's company party." "I remember." I wiped my hands on a shop rag, taking my time. "Shouldn't you be in Tokyo?" His confidence flickered. "I came back early, business stuff." "Must be important business to cut short a 6-month assignment." "Yeah, well..." He recovered quickly, flashing that practiced smile. "Look, I wanted to talk to you man to man." "About what?" "About Jenna. About this situation." I leaned against my workbench, studying him. Up close, Tyler was exactly what I'd expected. Expensive haircut, designer clothes, soft hands that had never held a wrench or changed a tire. The kind of guy who thought charm could solve any problem. "What situation would that be?" "Come on, Danny. We both know what's going on here. Jenna and we have a connection, something special." "Special enough to bring you back from Tokyo?" He shifted uncomfortably. "She's confused right now, torn between her old life and what could be. I think it would be better for everyone if you made this easy for her." "Easy how?" "File for divorce. Let her move on without feeling guilty about it. You seem like a decent guy. You deserve someone who really wants to be with you." The audacity was breathtaking. He'd come to my place of business to suggest I divorce my wife so he could have her guilt-free. Part of me admired the sheer nerve of it. "That's interesting advice," I said. "What does Jenna think about you being back?" "She doesn't know yet. I wanted to talk to you first." How thoughtful. Tyler's smile was getting strained around the edges. "So, what do you say? Can we work something out here?" I straightened up, noting how Tyler instinctively stepped back, even though I hadn't moved toward him. For all his confidence, he was fundamentally a coward. "Here's what I say, Tyler. Get off my property. Don't come back. And if you want to discuss my marriage, do it through lawyers. There's no need to be hostile." That wasn't hostile. Hostile would be me explaining what happens to pretty boys who mess with other men's wives in this town. This was just a polite request to leave. Tyler's face flushed red, but he was smart enough not to push it. He walked back to his Tesla with as much dignity as he could muster, which wasn't much. "This isn't over," he called through his car window. "No," I agreed. "It's not." After he drove away, I called Rick. "Guess who just paid me a visit?" "The boyfriend?" "Yep. Came back from Tokyo to suggest I divorce Jenna so she won't feel guilty about leaving me." Rick whistled. "That takes some serious stones. What did you tell him?" "To get lost. But here's the interesting part. Jenna doesn't know he's back." "Trouble in paradise?" "Maybe. Or maybe he's just trying to clean up loose ends before she commits fully." Either way, this could work in your favor. That night, I called Jenna. She answered on the 4th ring, sounding distracted. "Danny, is everything okay? It's late there." "Just wanted to hear your voice. How's Tokyo treating you?" "Oh, busy. Lots of meetings, cultural adjustments. The time difference is challenging." "I bet. Hey, weird question. Do you know if Tyler Morrison is still there?" Sam asked about him for some school project about international business. There was a pause that lasted just a heartbeat too long. "Tyler? Yes, he's still here. Why would Sam ask about him specifically?" "She remembered him from your company parties. You know how teenagers are. They get fixated on random things." "Right. Well, yes, he's still here. Very busy with his own projects." The lie came so easily that I almost believed it myself. If I hadn't seen Tyler in my parking lot 6 hours earlier, I might have bought the whole performance. "Give him my regards if you see him," I said. "I will." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen thinking about the implications. Jenna was lying about Tyler's whereabouts, which meant she knew he was back, but didn't want me to know. That suggested either a fight between them or some kind of strategy I hadn't figured out yet. My phone rang. Carol's name appeared on the screen. "Working late?" I answered. "I've been thinking about your situation. Have you considered going on the offensive instead of just playing defense?" "What do you mean?" "Right now, you're reacting to Jenna's moves. But what if you started making moves of your own?" "Such as?" "Social pressure, public opinion. Small towns run on gossip, and infidelity scandals have a way of following people around. Make it costly for her to continue this behavior." "I'm not looking to destroy her, Carol. I'm not talking about destruction. I'm talking about consequences. Right now, she gets to have her affair while maintaining her reputation and keeping her options open. What if those options started closing?" I thought about Tyler's visit, his assumption that I'd roll over and play the cooperative husband. Maybe it was time to show both of them that they'd miscalculated. "What did you have in mind?" "Leave that to me. I have some ideas that might interest you." After Carol hung up, I went out to my garage and worked on an old Mustang I'd been restoring in my spare time. The familiar rhythm of mechanical work helped me think, and by the time I finished for the night, I had the beginnings of a plan. Jenna wanted to pause our marriage while she figured out what she wanted. Fine. But she was about to learn that pausing something doesn't mean controlling it. The game was changing, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I was looking forward to my next move. 2 months into Jenna's extended Tokyo business trip, our small town's annual harvest festival arrived with its usual chaos of food trucks, craft booths, and a makeshift stage where local bands competed with feedback from ancient amplifiers. I'd always avoided these events in the past. Too crowded, too loud, too much forced community spirit. But this year was different. This year, I had a purpose. "You're really going through with this?" Rick asked as we surveyed the crowd from his beer tent. He'd volunteered to work the festival every year since buying the bar, claiming it was good for business, but really because he enjoyed watching small-town drama unfold in real time. "She wanted to pause our marriage," I said, adjusting the microphone on the small stage. "Time to press play on the consequences." The timing was perfect. Jenna had returned from Tokyo 3 days earlier, supposedly to check on things at home, but really because her company had discovered some irregularities in her expense reports. Apparently, charging romantic dinners for 2 to the corporate account while claiming to be on solo business trips had raised some red flags. She was staying at the Comfort Inn on the highway, maintaining the fiction that we were still on our pause while probably trying to figure out her next move. Tyler had made himself scarce since our parking lot conversation, though I'd heard through Rick's network of gossips that he'd been seen around town looking nervous. "Ladies and gentlemen," the festival coordinator announced through the crackling sound system, "we have a special treat tonight. Local business owner Danny Mitchell has a few words to share about marriage, community, and the importance of honesty in small towns." I'd volunteered for the speaking slot by claiming I wanted to talk about supporting local businesses. Not technically a lie, just not the whole truth. The crowd was decent-sized, maybe 200 people scattered around picnic tables and lawn chairs. I spotted Jenna near the back, looking confused and slightly panicked. Tyler was nowhere to be seen, probably hiding until he figured out what I was up to. "Thank you all for coming out tonight," I began, my voice carrying clearly through the speakers. "I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind lately, the importance of truth in relationships." A murmur went through the crowd. This wasn't the usual festival fare of thanking sponsors and promoting local businesses. 6 months ago, my wife Jenna asked me for something unusual. She wanted to pause our marriage, take a break, see other people while she figured out what she really wanted. The murmur grew louder. I could see Jenna pushing through the crowd, trying to get closer to the stage, her face flushed with anger and embarrassment. "Now, I'm just a simple mechanic," I continued, So maybe I don't understand these modern relationship concepts, but it seemed to me that what she really wanted was permission to cheat without calling it cheating. Danny, stop this right now. Jenna's voice cut through the crowd noise, but I kept talking. So she went to Tokyo for 6 months. Business trip, she said. Very important for her career. And maybe it was. I'm sure she learned a lot about international relations. Scattered laughter from the audience. People were pulling out phones, recording what was quickly becoming the most entertaining festival speech in years. But here's the thing about pausing a marriage. It only works if both people agree to the rules. And the rules, as I understood them, were no lies, no deception, just honest exploration of what we both wanted. I pulled out my phone and held it up. Unfortunately, my wife forgot to mention that she'd already been exploring for months before her trip, with her coworker Tyler Morrison, right here in town at Romano's restaurant, while telling me she was working late. The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. I could see Mrs. Patterson near the front, nodding approvingly. Her daughter Linda was recording everything on her phone. I've got photos, text messages, hotel receipts, the whole digital trail of their affair. Because in the 21st century, cheating leaves evidence like breadcrumbs. Jenna had reached the front of the crowd and was trying to climb onto the stage, but Rick and 2 other guys blocked her path without making it obvious. Now, you might ask why I'm sharing this with all of you instead of handling it privately. Good question. The answer is simple. Because my wife made our marriage public when she decided to conduct her affair in our hometown, in front of our neighbors, while lying to everyone about what she was doing. I gestured toward Jenna, who was now shouting something I couldn't hear over the crowd noise. She wanted to pause our marriage? Fine. Consider it officially unpaused. And here's what I discovered during our break. I don't need someone who thinks so little of me that she assumes I'll never figure out what she's really up to. The crowd erupted in applause and shouting. Some people were cheering, others were booing, everyone was talking at once. It was beautiful chaos. So, here's my message to anyone thinking about pausing their marriage, I concluded, raising my voice over the noise. Make sure you understand the rules first, because the other person might be playing a different game entirely. I dropped the microphone and walked off the stage, leaving behind the kind of small-town scandal that would be discussed for years. Jenna was screaming at Rick, demanding to know how he could let this happen. Tyler had materialized from somewhere and was trying to calm her down while looking around nervously like he expected someone to throw something at him. That was either brilliant or completely insane, Rick said as we made our way through the crowd toward the parking lot. Maybe both. You know there's no going back from this, right? You just nuked your marriage in front of half the town. My marriage was already nuked. I just made it official. Behind us, I could hear Jenna still shouting, her voice carrying over the festival noise. She was demanding apologies, threatening lawsuits, claiming I'd humiliated her unfairly. But her protests sounded hollow after everything I'd revealed. My phone started buzzing with text messages, some supportive, some critical. All of them proof that my message had been received loud and clear. The story would be all over social media within hours, shared and reshared, until everyone in 3 counties knew about Jenna's Tokyo affair and Tyler's cowardly behavior. What's your next move? Rick asked as we reached my truck. Now I go home and wait for the lawyers to call. Regrets? I thought about it as we stood in the parking lot, listening to the ongoing chaos behind us. 6 months ago, I would never have imagined myself capable of something like this. The old Danny would have suffered in silence, maybe gotten quietly divorced, definitely let Jenna control the narrative about their failed marriage. But the old Danny hadn't understood what he was up against. No regrets, I said finally. She wanted to play games with our marriage. Now she gets to live with the consequences. As I drove home through the quiet streets of our small town, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness exactly, but the calm satisfaction of someone who'd finally stopped letting other people write his story. Jenna had wanted to pause our marriage while she figured out what she wanted. Well, now she had her answer, and so did everyone else in town. The game was over, and for the first time since it started, I'd won. Epilogue: New Beginnings. 6 months after the festival incident, I was rebuilding my life one day at a time. The divorce papers had been filed within a week of my public revelation, with Jenna's lawyers initially threatening all kinds of retaliation for my public humiliation of their client. But Carol had been ready for them, armed with evidence of adultery, financial misconduct, and abandonment of parental duties. The settlement was more favorable than I dared hope. I kept the house, the garage, and primary custody of Sam. Jenna got her freedom and a reputation that would follow her wherever she went next. Tyler had been quietly transferred to another division of their company, effectively ending both their professional relationship and their romantic one. "Dad, your phone's ringing," Sam called from the kitchen where she was doing homework at the table we'd finally started using for family meals again. I wiped my hands on a shop rag and answered without checking the caller ID. "Mitchell's Garage." "Danny, it's Linda Patterson. I have a problem with my car, and my mother insisted I call you instead of taking it to that chain place on the highway." Linda had become something of a local celebrity after her photos of Jenna and Tyler became evidence in the divorce proceedings. She'd also become a friend, someone who understood what it felt like to watch people you trusted reveal their true character. "What's the problem?" "It's making a weird noise when I brake. Kind of a grinding sound." "Bring it by tomorrow morning. I'll take a look." "Thanks. And Danny?" "There's something else. I was wondering if you'd like to have dinner sometime. Nothing fancy, just dinner." I looked through the garage doorway at my house where Sam was bent over her textbooks and the lights were warm and welcoming. 6 months ago, I would have said no automatically, too wrapped up in my failing marriage to consider other possibilities. "I'd like that," I said. "How about Saturday?" After we hung up, I stood in my garage surrounded by the tools and projects that had sustained me through the worst period of my life. The Mustang restoration was nearly finished, its engine purring with the satisfaction of work done right. Mrs. Henderson's brake job was ready for pickup. 3 other cars waited for attention, their owners trusting me with their problems because they knew I'd fix what was broken. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it was honest work in a world that seemed increasingly short on honesty. And for the first time in years, it felt like enough. "Dad," Sam called, "are you going to help me with this math homework or what?" "Coming," I called back, switching off the garage lights and heading toward the house where my real life was waiting. Behind me, the Mustang gleamed in the darkness, restored to something better than it had been before, just like everything else worth saving.